Welcome to episode number 32 of the Introvert Biz Growth podcast, the show where I talk to introverts who grow their business and make a difference. I'm Sarah Senecroce, and I'm so happy that you're spending this time with me today. I really am grateful for you as a listener. I realized when I talked to our guest today, Faris, is that he gave me some feedback on the podcast, and I'm like, wow, that's so great that, people are actually listening to it. Obviously, I see it in the numbers, but this was a real person giving me feedback. And so it really took it to another level. So I'm really grateful for you listening. And of course, if you also want to give me feedback or just saying, hi, I'm listening to your podcast, that would really make a big difference. Because, to be honest with you, I'm kind of at this level. I've been doing the podcast for a bit over a year, and there's not much feedback yet. And I know we're introverts, and I know it's, we're not the most social people, but it is sometimes a teeny bit frustrating when you feel like you're just talking to, I don't know, an open space or a wall or something. So if you do want to give me some feedback or just let me know that you're listening, that'd be really making my day, and I would really appreciate it. So I also want to mention again that I do not, for now, have sponsorships. I'm not planning to be getting them anytime soon. And if I do, I really want to handpick something that I think makes sense. So I do listen to a lot of podcasts and sometimes wonder, why people would recommend, I think I mentioned it before, underwear or mattresses or insurance or all these things that really, if I can, I'd rather not go there. But that means that I'm every now and then doing kind of my own promotion and tooting my own horn. And since I'm in Sicily right now, I thought I'd mention my retreat again. So this is the deep dive mastermind for introverted entrepreneurs that's happening in May 2018. And if you come over to my Facebook page, so that's facebook.com/introvert biz growth. You will see that there's an event page for the retreat, and I'm actually posting most of the updates are going to that page, and I'm posting pictures and videos and Facebook Lives and all that good stuff. So no commitment right now. You don't have to put in a deposit, but if you just kind of want to follow along and see what this retreat is all about, I invite you to join that event page. And if you are listening on a mobile device, I'll make sure that the link is there also directly to the Facebook event page for the retreat, so you can just find that in the description and click on it to join and just say, I'm interested. No commitment again. So enough about that. I want to introduce my guest today, who's a quiet leadership coach. So Faris Khalifeh has been named among the top 6 life coaches in Vancouver by Crowd Wellness. Before becoming a coach, he was engaged in the corporate world, serving clients ranging from startups to Fortune 500 companies. His experience spans industries including education, hospitality, FMCG, and automobiles. He serves on the board of directors for the International Coach Federation and teaches at various institutions, including Rhodes Wellness College and Spring Activator. He's also the founder of Vancouver Quiet Leadership Meetup, which is one of the fastest growing and the only leadership group dedicated to introvert personality types in British Columbia. Hi, Faris. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you. As we just said, I'm just finishing my day and you're just starting it because you're, I think, 9 hours ahead of me in Vancouver. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's 8 a.m. now here.
Okay, wonderful. All right, Faris, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, I read the intro, the official bio in the introduction, but expand a little bit on that. Tell us something about yourself that my introverted audience can relate to.
Sure. So aside from the business I do, which is help introverts build on their strength as quiet leaders, I'm a minimalist, feminist, and a passionate connector. I love connecting with people and connecting people to other people. That's like a passion of mine. And I'm also an animal lover.
Wow. Okay. You just, summarized yourself in all these fancy words, and I'm so intrigued by minimalist and feminist. So tell us a bit more about those.
Sure. So as a minimalist, I became a minimalist like 4 years ago after I read the book Minimalism. And
Right.
Minimalism is a tool that allows us to remove the excess and focus on what's important in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that for 4 years, trying to eliminate everything that's unnecessary in order to focus on what's important and what I value in life. So that's been going great. And it's a major shift in lifestyle.
I assume so, yeah.
I don't know if you heard about the people behind it. His name is Joshua Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus.
Yeah, I follow their podcast, and I've actually done an episode also on that specific topic because it's very intriguing to me as well. And I watched they have this kind of documentary movie, right? So yeah, very, very interesting. And I actually did the podcast episode was about, I asked myself the question whether all introverts are non-materialistic because I don't know. I just had this feeling that all the other introverts that I talked to, they didn't care so much about things and objects and material, kind of lifestyle. And so I was just kind of wondering if that's a common trait or if it had nothing to do with introversion. So it's interesting that you, as a fellow introvert, are also fascinated by that topic. So very cool.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that myself, if there's a relation, because like you said, introverts, we tend to be more internal and less focused on the external rewards. So yeah, I'm curious to see if there's like a factual relation there.
Yeah. Okay, great. So tell us more about the second word you just kind of threw out there. So that was feminism, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's self-explanatory. Yeah, I believe in women empowerment and all that. And the third word, which maybe you were referring to, is the connector.
Right.
The connector, I came across that description when I read the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point. And I realized I am a connector. I enjoy connecting to people and connecting others to other people. Mm-hmm. So I do it naturally, and I just enjoy doing it. And it's interesting for an introvert to also be a connector, that proves it's nothing to do with being social, and it's all about the energy piece.
It's true, but I also think that we're good connectors because we like to somehow take the spotlight off from ourselves and kind of put them on other people. And so maybe that's, it's a great way to make conversation by saying, hey, you should meet this and this person. And then you kind of connect to people rather than, let me talk about myself, which is usually not what we're really good at, or we just don't want to focus too much on ourselves. So
that's interesting. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, it makes sense.
I think I've heard that on Beth Bulow's podcast that she was saying the same thing, that she's a really good connector, and it's because she likes to shine the spotlight more on other people than on herself. So
and she mentions that in her book as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, great. Well, that makes you for a very interesting person, I would say, Faris, to those kind of few words that you just kind of put into one sentence. It's like, wow, tell me more.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about your business, what you do with these introverted leaders, how you help them, and how your business model works? Is it mainly coaching, or do you have another kind of revenue stream? Tell us a bit more about your business.
Sure. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a quiet leadership coach. And what I mean by that, I coach introverts to build on their strength. So, for me, leadership is not about the position or title. Leadership is a choice, and it's not a rank, as Simon Sinek says. And it begins with self-leadership, and that's my focus. And the other piece, the quiet, is I work with introverted leaders. And as a business model, our sources of revenue, I do one-on-one sessions with clients. I do workshops, and I started doing corporate training. I think I started doing that last November, and it's going great. In the corporate training, it's a bit different. What I do there is I talk about how to close the communication gap between the two different personality types. So it's more about how to close that gap. And so far, companies seem to be resonating with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they must be quite advanced in terms of getting the idea between introverts and extroverts. Maybe more advanced in Canada or in the US than in Europe. I think. I don't know. Do you have any experience whether this is different from one country or one part of the world to others?
Based on research, they say Iceland, Finland are more introverted countries and cultures. Canada is also more introverted than, for example, the US. So culture and countries, it makes a difference where you are located. Mm-hmm. However, I also see some resistance here as well. But it seems the companies that are reaching out for me, they are the ones that with an open mind, and they see how important to be diversified, not just in gender and ethnicity, also in the personality type.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm happy to see that's happening here and people are resonating with it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I think that it means that usually is it the HR department or who makes the decision to reach out to you?
HR departments, yeah. And and the way they're hearing about me is what I'm doing the past 7 months. I'm going to HR conferences and communities where HR hang out and network. And that's how I do mini talks there. And after the talk, most of them reach out. Right. So that's my strategy.
So that means that it's the HR departments that are informed about these different personality types. So kudos to them. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Just going to say about the sources of revenue. I also do a Quiet Leadership monthly meetup. Every month, we talk about different topics related to quiet leadership. And I started getting guest speakers to talk about these specific topics. So that's another source of income. And the last piece, which I'm focusing on now at the moment, to create a mastermind and group coaching.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So would that be in person or online?
In person. Yeah, I wanted to do it in person and have a maximum of 10 people in the group.
Nice. Okay.
So that's something I'm going to launch in July.
How does it fit with your introverted energy? I'm thinking especially about the corporate trainings. I do corporate trainings for my LinkedIn business. And so I enjoy the corporate trainings, but they're also very exhausting to me. So at the end of the day, I'm just wiped, and I usually have to plan in the next morning to just, not have any conversations and just do office work or write or something. Is it similar to you?
Exactly. The same thing. For me, the energy management is the big one. That's what I focus on, how to keep my energy at an optimum level. So what I do before doing any talks or corporate training or anything of that sort, take a break probably a day before and a day after, like you said, to bring my energy back.
Yeah. I think we need to realize that that's how we're wired, and so you need to actually plan in that time. So it's that you can work at optimum level. So true. All right, great. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your introverted superpowers. What do you think is your biggest strength as an introverted entrepreneur?
Empathy, I'd say. empathy and active listening. I
Okay.
think that many introverts relate to that, and I find it helps in life and in business because we can understand the client's pain and desires and relate to them. And while relating to them, they feel the connection to the authentic connection.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Do you think empathy is always a strength, or can it also turn into a challenge?
It could turn to a challenge to pick up on people's energy, and that also drains me. So it's having a healthy balance, I guess. But another one which I find challenging and at the same time is a strength of mine is harmony. Even on my strength finder, harmony is on the top, where I want to that maybe connects to the connector piece. I want to create peace and try to bring others together. However, that could be a challenge because that means I avoid conflict.
Right.
And at the same time, I could fall into the trap of people pleasing and not knowing when to say no.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's funny because on my website, my free giveaway is basically an ebook on how to say no, because I think a lot of introverts are struggling with that, and I think it comes from that place of empathy, and yes, we want to have this harmony. Harmony is a big one too, but then where is the limit? Where are you going to say, I give this much, but that's enough? So you're right. It's very much related. What is do you know your Myers-Briggs personality type? Do you feel like sharing it?
Yeah, sure. I'm an INFP, and I totally relate to that. And I see it again as a strength, being intuitive and a feeler and a perceiver.
Yeah. So I guess here this is the feeler part, and that's where yes, it's a strength, but we also have to be very careful with how much empathy and how much feeling and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah, because that plays with the energy piece as well, and we have limited energy resource. So saying no will help us gain that energy back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's something I'm been working on and being mindful when I say yes or no.
Yeah. So what about the weakness or a challenge? So obviously it's that part. Is there anything else that you would like to mention?
I guess like maybe other introverts, I don't like to be put on the spot. It's the preparations. I think we overcompensate, or I overcompensate through preparation, but not too much preparation because I'm a very high level. I don't like to go into details, but some sort of guideline and preparation to what I assume will come up in a conversation or in a training session.
Yeah. And you just mentioned offline, maybe you want to bring that up about the interviews that you've heard companies actually send out questions to introverted. Yeah. So tell us about that before I tell the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I read that on Quiet Revolution or Institute by Susan Cain. So some HR companies are now, they know that introverts, they need to prepare, and they feel it's not fair to put them on the spot, like not fair in job interviewing in comparison to extroverts where they can think on the spot. So they send them the interview questions beforehand to prepare for. And I find that amazing and fascinating because it's not cheating. I see it as just being prepared and know what we're going to share, especially in a stressful situation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's putting people on the same level because you're giving them the same chance. Otherwise, the introvert is probably going to blow it because, he's not prepared. And so he's just going to babble about something that doesn't make any sense, where actually, if he had the time to prepare and say what he's planned, then he's going to probably have a much smarter response than maybe the other person. Yeah,
exactly. Great. Yeah, and that's something I talk about in the corporate training for managers to give, or in any meeting, to give the agenda beforehand for introverts also to prepare for the meeting.
Yeah, so they get their chance to speak up during the meeting, so that because they know what's coming. So it's a great point. Take us to a moment in time where you had, this amazing aha moment where you realized something just started to make sense.
Sure. So I have two aha moments that come top of my mind. One is the career switch. So before I became a coach, I was in the corporate world doing marketing and business development for almost 14 years. And in the beginning, I was fulfilled and happy and excited to climb the corporate ladder. However, at some point, I think after 10 years, I started feeling less and less fulfilled. And at some point I ignored it, and at some point I got really burned out. So I decided to take a break and examine what was going on. Mm-hmm. So during that self-discovery and trying to find what I'm passionate about, one day I was sitting in my living room and I looked at my bookcase and I realized I had probably thousands of books, and most of the books, or all of them, are on personal development, personal growth, psychology. And that was like a aha moment for me, because I knew I was passionate about that topic, but I never thought of pursuing it as a career. But at that moment, I thought, why don't I pursue that as a career? And that's when I decided to go into coaching, and I went to school and started my practice. So that was a life.
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden, you realized, okay, well, I have all these books, I have all this knowledge. Why don't I share it with my clients? That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's a reflection on what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Great. So when was that? Was that just 2 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah.
4 and a half. Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome realization.
Yeah. You said you had another aha moment you wanted to share?
Oh yeah, the second one, uncovering or discovering my personality type, the INFP, and understanding what an introvert is. 5 years ago, I didn't know if I was an introvert or what is introversion. So I spent the last now 5 years just researching and studying introversion. But that moment was an aha moment for me when I realized part of my unfulfillment, actually, and being tired all the time in the corporate world was because I was an introvert and I wasn't taking care of my energy, and I was trying to be an extrovert for too long.
Right.
So that was another big aha moment, and it really changed my life the minute I understood my personality type.
Right. And that you can also communicate it clearly, and you actually made your business based on that realization. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. And embrace it, like you said, and understand it. And
Cool. All right. I always like to ask my guests about 3 golden nuggets, like I call them. In one of them, the first one is a personal habit that you think contributes to your success, something that you do on a regular basis.
So what I do on a regular basis, it's to do with the energy management, because for me, that's the most important, energy. So I meditate, and meditation is a big one. It started probably 5 years ago. I was using Headspace, the app, guided meditation, and started from there. And now it's a daily habit. Journaling, because we tend to be introspective, so journaling really helps to put whatever is on the mind on paper. And in general, mindful, intentional, and conscious about the energy and where I'm spending it, where I'm not. And taking mini breaks. Throughout the day, I make sure I don't book back-to-back meetings or doing anything right after each other. So between meditation, journaling, and mini breaks, those are my daily habits.
That's great. Yeah. I started meditation not so long ago, about a year ago, but it has had a major impact. Obviously, I'm still learning. It's not like, you just wake up and all of a sudden you can meditate. But I think probably one of my aha moments was that meditation is not just this trance-like thing where you just sit there in trance and all of a sudden you're enlightened and but it's the idea of getting lost and coming back, Because up till a year ago, I always thought, well, that's not for me. Meditation's not for me. I can't do it. Well, yeah, obviously you can do it, but nobody can just sit there and not think anything, but that's the whole point. It's to always come back to the breath. And so, yeah, I really
Exactly. Yeah.
enjoy still practicing and obviously still learning to be focused and in the present. So definitely agree with that. Yeah. What about an internet
Awesome.
resource that you're using, some kind of online tool that you're...
So Headspace, like I mentioned, that's a great app. Helped me and helped many of my clients because it starts with very simple 3 minutes meditation, and then it exceeds to 4 and 5, etc. So that's a great tool. Another tool which I'm currently using is Trello. Are you familiar with Trello?
I've seen it and hear other people referring to it. I'm not using it myself. What are you using it for? To just as a to-do list or?
For business and for personal. So Trello is like having different boards, and each board has a list and cards in them. And then you start. What I like about it is the interface. So it's visually appealing and easy to use. It reminds me a bit of Pinterest because of the boards.
Right.
So for example, one card would be, let's say, I don't know, a quiet leadership talks. Then under that, whatever's related to the talks, I have them there. Then I have another board for business development or marketing. And then there's a to-do list under each. So it's easy to use. I find it visually appealing. And it's fun. So it's a great tool for people to check out.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes. And I agree, it's very visual. And so for people who are visual, and you're right, it's kind of like Pinterest because it has the boards and everything, and it's colorful. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
What about one of your 1,000 books that you would recommend?
Which I all sold out when I became a minimalist.
Oh, that's true. You can't have all these 1,000. Well, you don't need to. You just have one Kindle and you have millions of books.
Exactly. Many books. So the Introvert books, obviously Quiet by Susan Cain, and the Introvert Entrepreneur by Beth Bilo is awesome. That helped me in my business journey in the beginning. And I guess our mutual friend Leslie Taylor as well, The Dynamic Introvert, is a great book. However, another book aside from the introvert piece is Minimalism. That's a book that I really love, and it changed my life. And I feel there's a relation, like you said, with the minimalism, because it helps us to focus on what's important. So our energy, this way we're not depleting our energy.
Yeah. I'll make sure I'll link to the book, but also to the podcast, because I do enjoy their podcast as well. And then that documentary, I'm not sure, it might be a paid version. I'm not sure it's free anymore, that documentary, but I'll try to find the link to the minimalism documentary, because I really enjoyed that as well.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay, yeah. So I'm sure people will find it if they want to look it up. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time, Faris. I really enjoyed getting to know you and finding out that you're one of those introverts who are also convinced about minimalism. I'm not there yet, by the way, not at all. I have 2 kids, and they're the opposite of minimalists right now. They're like they have to have the latest gadgets, and not there yet. But in my heart, I'm definitely a minimalist. So,
And you mentioned in one of your podcasts earlier that you love essentialism, which I find it similar to minimalism as well.
It's true. I think minimalism is more geared towards, materialism maybe, and owning less. And essentialism is more focusing on your core values and maybe doing less. I don't know if you can kind of summarize it like that, but definitely both go hand in hand, and it's just kind of focusing on what's important in the end.
Exactly.
That's what it is all about. I always end the episode by asking my guest what you're grateful for today or this week. So What are you grateful for, Faris?
Many things. And recently, I'm grateful, like being around great people like yourself. And I've been collaborating with many people, and I'm grateful for that. And like Jim Rohn says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And I find that's true. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you also for spending time with me. That's why I have this podcast. It's, it gives me so much pleasure to have conversations like this one. Yeah, it really feels like, I think my latest episode was about finding your people, and that's what this is all about, right? Connection, creating connection. There's the connector piece again. So yeah, this is that's what it's all about.
I love your podcast and the guest speakers you invite. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time and chatting with me, Faris. It's been a great pleasure.
You're welcome. Same here.
Make sure you check out the Faris website at fariskhalifeh.com. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so you can go and click on it directly. So that's it for this episode of the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast. And as always, you'll find this episode's show notes with all the links, the tools he mentioned, the books he mentioned, the minimalism video, and all of that good stuff on this episode's show notes at sarahsanacroce.com/episode 32. And if you're listening to this show on a mobile device, you can click actually on the description of your podcast aggregator, and you'll actually find all the clickable links in there. Talking about clickable links, make sure you also check out sarahsanacroce.com/books, because my virtual assistant Mara has created a beautiful compilation of 20 of the favorite books of my past podcast guests. So head over to sarahsanacroce.com/books and grab it so you can add some new books to your Kindle reading list. Okay, one more thing I really need to change on my podcast is the ending. Gosh, I really can't hear myself saying one more time, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks, etc., etc. So I paid close attention to my favorite podcasts and their finish line or last line, and decided that from now on, I'll just end with this. Thanks for listening. This is Sarah Sanacroce signing off from the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast. Remember, you need to use your unique introverted superpowers in order to make a difference. Thanks for listening. Until next time.